Our next author decided to bring the true crime podcast genre to the next level, not by broadcasting it by audio, but by writing it down for people to read. Here to present some of his true crime podcast series, Dale Deffendoll.
Thank you, Dana. Good evening. I am Dale Deffendoll, and you are reading a true crime podcast book. I now ask you to imagine two brushes gently rubbing the top of a snare drum and slowly fade away. It had been 2 weeks and 5 days since Lexi went missing. The police were of no help, and so her loved one took to posting their own advertisements, hoping someone, anyone, maybe even a true crime podcaster would help discover Lexi's whereabouts and if she was even still alive. I entered the town of Midland on a cold and gray November day, but I was left with more questions than answers. I noticed the names of the places there: Midland Bowling Alley, Midland Pub, Midland Courthouse. I was sensing a pattern. While refilling my gas tank, I reached out to the cashier to see if they were familiar with the case and that was gaining prominence online, but they declined to comment. As I slowly drove through the town, the place looked abandoned. All the cars were in the driveways, but the shops and restaurants were empty. I saw a postal worker and asked them if the strip malls were always this empty, but I couldn't understand them because of a medical mask they were wearing over their mouth for some reason. I could tell that a town like this was going to give me what we call in the true crime genre full body chills. Did you know you can create your own website with an award-winning template, 24/7 customer support? Browse modern, elegant templates. Design and manage your site with Squarespace. The case file said that Lexi often visited a local park, and so I thought I would check it out. It looked like, in order to find out what happened to Lexi, I was going to have to recreate the timeline. I stopped and asked a man who was emptying a trash can. He was wearing a green shirt with a brown logo in the shape of a tree that read Midland Parks. I had a suspicion that he worked at the park. This is when you read the next lines with a different voice instead of mine. It is the voice of the park employee that I was interviewing. Pretty little thing. Yellow hair. Yeah, I remember her. Only 'cause I had to keep cleaning up after that bitch. Now back to my voice. I asked if he saw her 2 weeks and 5 days ago, and if she left the park with someone in particular. Back to the witness's voice. Yes. Now back to my voice. Who was it? And back to the witness's voice. Old Larry Smudgeons. He lives just there at the end of the road. This is when the keys below middle C on a piano would strike a few times. Dr. Squatch provides organic and natural homemade soap to men who want to feel like a man and smell like a champion. I was obsessed with this crime. It haunted me. What awful things did old Larry Smudgeons do to Lexi? And what happened? So I could get in on this and possibly break through to 1,000 followers. This is when you would suddenly hear some jingle bells ring and the sound of an upbeat soft jazz that quickly fades out. I took to a bathroom break at a donut shop. It had one employee and one cop. One too proud to admit that he had jelly on his chin, and one too afraid to point it out. They both eyed me as I stepped in to simply use the restroom. You see, the last time I inspected a creepy old house and talked with a creepy old man, I involuntarily relieved myself, and I was sure not to make that mistake again. As I left, I felt a tingle on my back, I wondered what the donut maker and the officer were hiding. But that trail went cold. I tucked my shirt in and firmly walked to the dilapidated house of Mr. Smudgeons. There would be a knock sound. You can make your own knock sound. I introduced myself to Mr. Smudgeons. He seemed hard of hearing, but happily welcomed me in for an interview. The inside of the house was either covered in dust or plastic to protect furniture, yet the smell of urine filled the air. I saw a chain that led to the basement. And in the living room, there was a small metal tray table with what looked like to be the carving of a cartoonish bone. I turned and Larry held out his carving knife at me. In Larry's voice, "I see you got my project. Well, an old man has got to have a hobby. Besides, I think she'll like that." Back to my voice. I looked and saw on his shoulder yellow hairs. And this is the high-pitched end of the piano keyboard. I left the house and reported everything to the Midland Police, making sure they knew I was a true crime podcaster and not just an amateur. I also made sure that they knew that with AdThrive, they could get the highest possible income for each page view. They handle ads so you don't focus on creative, amazing, high-quality content. When the police investigated, they discovered Lexi's bones buried in Mr. Smudgeon's backyard. On the last episode chapter, I dive deep into the dark recesses of senility and blow the case wide open to find out that Lexi was safe and sound. So please keep reading along with me, Dale Deffendoll, in this true crime podcast book, Missing Pets.